The situations that were fearful to me were really specific. It wasn't the beings that visited me, it was something different. I blame myself partly in that because I went too far too fast. Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to Rooted in the Cosmos, your podcast for all things spiritual leadership, higher consciousness, and new earth vision. My name is Isabel Gloria. I'm your host, and today I want to talk about starseeds. I could probably make 10 or more episodes about this one topic, but I have to start somewhere. And I thought today I want to talk about the signs that you might be a starseed and also share a little bit more about my personal story of how I found out and how my first contact, you could say, happened. So if that's something you're interested in, if you have a feeling that you might be a starseed or you know that and you just want to learn more, you want to hear about other people's stories and about the common signs that tell you that you might be a starseed, this episode is for you. And we're going to hop right in. This is going to be another cosmic deep dive. So fasten your seatbelt and enter the spaceship. Very, very simply said, starseeds are souls who have lived extraterrestrial lives, and their soul originates in a different star system. They choose to incarnate in human form, and they usually come with a mission. So, what they are is that they are very advanced souls who have the mission of serving humanity in some way. They want to bring more consciousness to the planet, and they usually have very powerful gifts. Starseeds come in many different forms. There is not a set rule on how a starseed has to fulfill their mission or what their purpose is. This can be very different and it can be a very different mission. But what they all have in common is that their mission usually serves humanity to some degree. To be completely honest with you, it's a little bit more complicated than what I've just explained to you. Being a starseed is such a complex thing, and because we are multidimensional cosmic beings, we cannot look at it as something as linear as just originating from another star system. It's a little bit more complex than that, and I will definitely go into this more deeply in an upcoming episode and really explain to you what it means to be a starseed and what the difference between Earth Soul and starseed is. But today, I really want to focus on the signs of being a starseed and how you can understand that you might be a starseed or how you can find out if you are a starseed soul. The first sign I want to talk about, and this is the one I hear the most from my clients because almost all of my clients, not almost, like all of my clients are starseeds. They are very advanced souls, whether they know it or not. Um, I hear that one often, and that is that they often feel different. They feel alienated. They have this sense of not belonging from a very, very early age on. So, what they often tell me is that even as a child, they felt like they were cosplaying being a child. They had so many deep thoughts. They had such an alienating feeling from other children around them, and it made them feel lonely at times or like they don't really fit in. And that started very early. That's what a lot of starseeds experience. They get along with their mates at school, at kindergarten, but they never truly feel like they're part of them or they fit in. Another sign is that you probably had some challenging times in your life. And I'm not saying that not everyone has that. Like every life is ups and downs, every life is challenging in some phases of life. But for starseeds especially, they often come into this experience with like a troubled life. They have either a challenging family situation, they have a health issue, they have some challenges early on that make them think about life differently than people who are not experiencing this many challenges or this intense of challenges from that early age on. And it makes them grow up really fast. It's not always the case. You can also be a starseed if you didn't have a troubled childhood or anything like that. But it's something that often comes with being a starseed, and it's something that stands out when you talk to other starseeds. When you talk about their childhood or their life in general, they often come into this life having some packages to carry, having some challenges to overcome, even before they really are grown-ups. So it's not uncommon for starseeds to have a rather challenging life early on, which also makes them grow a lot and makes them ask questions and makes them think about things and question things. This challenging life that they choose to come into also serves as like this accelerator to growth and to self-exploration, you could say. A starseed has to be really connected with their own soul and with their own emotions and with their own shadows as well to be able to activate their starseed gifts and to be able to have a starseed awakening. So a challenging life, even though it sucks from a human standpoint, is often the catalyst for this awakening to happen in the first place. Starseeds are also often either very sensitive empaths, so people who are feeling other people's emotion immensely, who are feeling for everyone who tells them about anything in their life. They're always very connected with their emotions and have a hard time creating a boundary between their own emotions and other people's emotions, and they often take on the emotions of others. That's another sign. Or quite the opposite of that, some star seeds have more of like a big picture thinking. So even though they feel for others and they are empathic, they have a good ability and a good skill of detaching from other people's pain or from the pain of the world because they are meant to see everything from a bigger picture so they can think of solutions. That type of starseed, the big picture thinkers, would be more connected to an Octorian line, and the more empathic ones would be more connected to the Pleiadian line. There is a ton more. This is not the only two that exist, but that is a very obvious distinction between the two. So Pleiadian connections are often very empathetic, very sensitive souls, and Arcturian connections are often rather analytical, big picture thinkers. They are visionaries. They have the skill of looking at a situation and staying calm, like that type of vibe. Both of this is a sign that you could be a starseed. Another huge thing is that you may feel like you're not really relating to human behavior and to the way that humans often act. You may not understand superficial behavior, you may suck at small talk, you may have a hard time casually dating or something like that, and things that seem so essential and so normal for other human beings are completely out of this world and just not imaginable for you. All of this feels not just alienating to you, but also like wasteful in a way. You don't want to waste your precious energy and your precious time with connections and with things that don't fulfill you and that don't give the opportunity for growth. That is not something you like to engage with. It's hard for you to understand the casualty of the human experience. Another sign that's kind of connected to this one is that you may feel the weight of the world sometimes so deeply that it's hard for you to detach from that. You are very aware of the shadows of this world, of the darkness that this world has. You may even be interested in the darker part of the human psyche, and you may research about this a lot, and you may feel like there is something wrong in the world, something is off, and it is as if there is a secret that everyone was in on but you. You have this deep feeling of something is wrong here and something is not truthful. Something is like a deception. Not every starseed experiences that. It is dependent on their mission and what they're meant to bring here, what they're meant to do here. But especially the Arcturian starseeds, I can talk about this a lot because that's my main connection. Especially the Arcturian starseed connections are very interested in the darker parts of the world and in what is wrong and in what is unfair, and in like the shadow aspect of how our world is ruled. You may resonate with that as well if you have the right connection, if you have the mission and the purpose of finding out more about this. And it's not uncommon for a starseed to feel like there is something off in the world, something doesn't feel right, something doesn't feel real, almost the feeling of this is all an illusion, this is all a big deception. There is some big chunk of truth that is not being told that would be important to know. Most starseeds are also rather introverted, not in a way that they have to be shy or something, but they are deep thinkers. They're very intelligent. They often have special interests and they're hungry for knowledge, especially when it comes to their special interests. So even as a child, you may have been really, really interested in animals or in a specific kind of animals, in horses, and you know everything about horses and horse keeping and all that, even though you don't own a horse or nobody in your family owns a horse. Just a silly example, it could be literally anything. It could be sea animals, it could be the cosmos, it could be star systems, it could be something completely unrelated to anything starseed or extraterrestrial. But a lot of children who are starseeds, they form special interests from a very early age on, and they keep having that as they grow up. So you may find yourself having a special interest for a couple of months or years, or maybe just a couple of weeks, and then jumping to your next special interest, and you research and learn about everything you can find about this topic. And this also gives you a lot of knowledge. So in conversations, you may often feel like you have something to say about this, and you often have to hold yourself back because you don't want to come along as a know-it-all. But you have a lot to say to a lot of topics because you're just so hungry for knowledge and so hungry to understand things, and you do research a lot. The next sign is something that a lot of my clients experience, if not all. It is a feeling of homesickness, a longing for a home that isn't Earth, that isn't their physical home, that is a home that they don't know where it is and if it exists and where it exists. There is something going on for you if you experience that, that makes you feel like you're not fully at home here, even though you love your life, you love your family, you love the life you've created for yourself, or you are happy to be able to express yourself here and you definitely want to stick around and love life on Earth. There is still a part of you that longs for a deeper connection to something that you can't quite grasp, like a home that feels like truly like home, where you feel 100% at home, at peace, 100% yourself, and this place is not here. Another sign that someone is a starseed is that they are usually very creative in many different ways and they want to express themselves in some way. So, what a lot of starseeds do is that they tend to go for creative careers. They are often web designers, graphic designers, some type of artist, something like that, or they want to be more creative in their life. They're looking for a career that fulfills this urge to express themselves. And it's very hard to find that in the usual workforce. If you are a starseed, you may resonate with that, and you are constantly seeking for ways to express yourself in a soul fulfilling way. It's not about superficial things here. It's not about being seen by others or external validation. It's about being seen for your soul, having a message, having something to share with the world. And you may also feel like you don't even know what that message is. There's just this urge that something really important wants to come through you, and something like this energy that wants to come through you. And you may not even know what exactly it is, and it is your task to find that out over time. But the urge is there from the beginning. You want to express yourself, you want to do something that feels fulfilling. You have this important message that you don't even know what it is, and it's like an energy that wants to be released, and you have a hard time finding the outlet for it. Another typical sign that you are a starseed is that you are very connected to nature more than other people. You love the stars, you love the universe, you love forests, you love nature in general, like untouched nature. The next one is kind of funny and obvious, but you may also feel a connection to the universe, and you may feel that you're very, very interested and fascinated in aliens and in the mystery of the universe, how it has been created, what is out there, are we alone, are we not alone? All these questions that really haunt you and that really have a grip on you. This special interest may also come from the fact that you may have memories from past lives, either consciously or just energetically as like a feeling. And you also may experience strange paranormal activity beginning in your childhood. So, for example, my biggest memory from my childhood, or one of my biggest memories from my childhood, is that I was laying in bed at night trying to fall asleep. I could feel myself rotating with the earth. And I had this every night. It is such a vivid memory. And I've had tons of these experiences. I saw shadow people in my room. I've been visited by beings and talked to them as a child, feeling completely calm, thinking it's normal that this happens. And you may have similar memories about your childhood or even your adult life, where you've had these paranormal experiences and they made you feel like there is more out there. I need to find answers. One of the major signs, and the sign that causes all of my clients to come to me and to build their business and to step into their power, is having a strong feeling that you need to fulfill a mission or a higher purpose. And you cannot, for the life of you, stay in this small world that most of your friends from school are in. They graduate, they may do a gap year in Australia, then they study, they climb the corporate ladder, they find a relationship that would not be deep enough for you to settle. They have a wedding, they have children, they buy a house, etc. Even though you may have dreams of aspects of this life, you may want to have a family, you may want to marry, the usual flow of how humans want to live their life or what they aspire is completely outlandish to you. If you think of that small world and only that being your life, it's almost like a panicky feeling. You want more. You don't want to settle for something that doesn't completely fulfill your soul. And this desire and this longing and also this alienation that comes with it has been built into you because you are meant to fulfill your starseed mission. You are meant to step up and find out what is fulfilling me. What am I meant to do here? What did I come here to fulfill? That's the whole point of your incarnation. You want to fulfill your mission. You want to find out what your soul is actually longing for. So when you think of your life just being the same like everybody else's, the feeling of this is it is coming up in you. It's like, that can't be it. That can't be everything. I cannot work my life away in a 9 to 5, then come home to a partner that doesn't understand me on a soul level, and then have children with them and build a house with them. I need a real, honest connection. I need real soulmates around me in any way I can think of, in work, in my relationships, in my family. Everything needs to be based on my soul expression, on my soul desires. I cannot settle for anything human and mundane. That is how you may feel about life, and that is completely okay. And I want to remind you at this point, I want to remind you that this is a great thing. You don't have to settle. You don't have to go at the same pace as other people do. Their soul mission may be very different from yours, and their soul mission may include experiencing a fully human life. But if that's not what you desire, it's not meant for you, and there is something better out there. So I really want to encourage you to not settle and to not give up until you find this fulfilling thing that feeds your soul and allows you to express your unique starseed energy in the most powerful way so that you can fulfill your mission and impact other people along that journey. Another thing is that animals often feel naturally drawn to starseeds. So you may be the person that the shy cat comes to even though they never greet anyone, or you may be the one that is surrounded by birds when they go into a park, or you may be the one that instantly connects with the dog that is usually a little bit hard to handle. What I won't do today is to go into the different kinds of star seeds. We are not just one kind anyway. We have many different connections, but we may have a prominent main connection, meaning that we're vibrationally closest to this kind of star seed species. But we are multidimensional beings. I said it in the very beginning. It's a little bit more complicated than just having an origin on another planet. So we are multidimensional, and many fractals of us exist at once. And many of these fractals are not terrestrial, they are extraterrestrial, they are what we would call alien. What we do as souls is that we bring in different connections purposefully into this incarnation in human form. And they act as our spirit guides, as our ET guides, as our higher aspects. And all these different aspects of us, they may originate in different star systems. But it doesn't mean that you are exclusively a Pleiadian soul if you feel really connected to the Pleiadians, or if you have a lot of guides from the Pleiades. It doesn't mean that you exclusively have this connection. It just means that it was helpful and purposeful to bring in this energy into this human incarnation because it helps you with fulfilling the mission that you came here to fulfill. It doesn't mean that you don't have other connections. What I do want to share with you is my personal story and how I found out that I'm a starseed and how it all started for me. I even did a poll on Instagram asking you if I should include my personal story into this episode, and it was an overwhelming yes. So I guess you're really interested in my personal story, and yeah, it gets a little crazy, so get ready. For starters, I've always felt different. Like the typical starseed thing, I've always felt different. I've always also been perceived as different. So people noticed that I'm not like them. And I've always had this feeling of alienation. It doesn't mean that I couldn't fit in. It doesn't mean that I didn't find friends. It was just a deeply rooted feeling of not truly fitting in. I could make myself fit in, but I didn't feel like I would fit in, if that makes sense. Fast forward about a year after I went through a phase of intense spiritual awakening, like really intense, I had my first experience with an extraterrestrial. And it was a weekend. It was really late at night. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning. And I wanted to go to bed. And I always check the door if the door is locked, if every window is closed, stuff like that. Just a normal routine. In the door that leads to the street outside of my house is a little window, and I can peek through that window and I see a forest in the distance and a hill. And while checking if the door is locked, I was just looking through that little window without thinking about anything. I was just looking out that window. And instead of the dim street lights, I saw a huge, huge white light that looked like a huge glowing moon that emanated a lot of light. And part of that light was hidden behind the forest. It's like a hill and there's a forest on it. And it was hidden behind that. It looked like a huge sphere emerging from behind this hill. And it was so humongous and so huge. And I've never in my entire life seen such a bright light without it blinding me at all. So it was the brightest light I've ever seen in my entire life, but it didn't blind me. I was just sucked in by its presence. I couldn't look away. I just had to look at it. The funny thing was, it didn't illuminate the area around it. So it was just this huge light. It didn't reflect off of anything. It was just like a portal of light. I cannot describe it any better than looking at it as if you were looking at like the brightest light you can think of, pure white, pure light. It was amazing, but also very, very scary because I didn't know what was going on. And I kid you not, my very first thought was aliens. And it wasn't a time where I was really concerned about aliens. I wasn't really into that. But the first thought I had was aliens. And this panic came up in me. I was literally panicking at this point, like internally. It was like my human instincts kicked in and I was just in fight or flight. But even though I felt panicky, I couldn't look away. I was like a deer in the headlights. I couldn't look away. I had to look at this light. And when I could finally take my eyes off of that light, I immediately took my phone and texted my friend who lives nearby, "Did you see that?" Because it was so clear to me that everyone in the neighborhood must have seen that. It was so obvious. It was like the world had seen this. That was my reality at that moment. I was like, "Oh my God, everyone must have seen that. It must be on the news." I was like, "Oh my God, something's up." My friend obviously was asleep. It was the middle of the night. And I had a rough night. I'm going to tell you that. I didn't sleep well. I couldn't sleep alone that night. And I had cold sweat all over me. I couldn't fall asleep. I was in complete shock. I was in a fight or flight mode, and my human instincts totally kicked in. What I forgot to tell you is that this light was supported by a deep, strange sound that I've never heard before. It was like a dark frequency. It was like a dark woo, 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 woo. I cannot replicate that, but it sounded really scary. And this sound was audibly, like I could audibly hear it. It was like a vibration, but I could audibly hear that vibration. And that vibration was there even when the light was already gone. So when I finally managed to get away from the window, I still heard that sound and I wanted to check if the light's still there. So I looked out the window again, it was gone, and the sound was still there, but it faded out as if it was going away, going further away and distance itself from me. Like I said, it wasn't my best night. I didn't sleep a lot. And I was very anxious. And the next morning, when I got up, I tried to reconstruct what had happened. So I went to the little window. I looked out the window in the same way I did the night before. And I tried to understand what happened. Because when I now looked out the window in daylight, there was a neighbor's house and there was a whole ass street. And it wasn't possible for this light to pop up in the place that I saw it in. So it almost felt like that night I was peeking into another dimension where a lot of houses around me didn't exist. And it felt so strange because I could not figure out how I could see this light in that way that I did from this perspective. It was really strange. I haven't been able to make sense of that until now. I'm still very baffled and I still don't understand how that happens. What I do know though is that this is what started my ET journey. This is what started contact for me. Around 1 week later, after this event, I had a really realistic quote unquote dream. And I was told in that dream that it was a little accident on their side, that I saw something that I wasn't meant to see. I wasn't told that verbally, it was more like a telepathical thing. I was visited or I saw a being that was very tall, very slim, very abstract, no face, not solid. It was more like translucent, more like an energy body, and it was glowing blue. And in this quote unquote dream, I could see the event from their perspective. And I got the information through that it wasn't on purpose, that it was a little accident. And it almost felt like they were a little bit unsure on how to deal with this situation, same as me, because they couldn't really make sense of me and how I would react to that, how I would use that info or use that knowledge that I now had. And they were a little bit um hesitant to connect with me. And when I say they, it's because I saw one being, like one main being that connected with me, but I felt like a whole collective behind them. They were very connected, and that's an experience that I've made over and over again. It's usually three beings. One being that directly connects with you, one being that is like writing protocol, and then the third energy is not just one being, it's like their collective consciousness. It's always these three energies, these three beings that come visit. These beings were really calm and very serene, and I wasn't afraid of them. It felt peaceful, it felt calm, it almost felt like beautiful, like a beautiful, familiar connection. It wasn't unusual for me, funnily. It felt like something that was meant to happen. I instantly knew that these beings were peaceful. I instantly knew that they are not going to do any harm to me, and it wasn't any type of threat to me. And even though they told me it was a little accident, now with the knowledge I now have, I don't think it was an accident. I feel like they wanted to test out how I'm gonna react to this and how I'm going to respond to their presence. And that was their way of doing it. Like this little accident was not an accident at all. It was a purposefully selected way of introducing themselves. And if I would be really scared, if I would have blocked out the contact, if I would have, yeah, just set a boundary up and I wouldn't have wanted to connect with them, they could just play it off as something that happened and will never happen again. But obviously, the journey continued, and I could, like, a lot more happened after this event, after this initial event. A series of ET encounters started, physical and non physical. And I have a lot of stories to tell, actually. But that's how it all started for me. That's how I became aware of the Arcturians, because these beings were the Arcturians. And I had their name, like Arcturian, Arcturian, Arcturian. I heard that repeatedly in my mind after this visit. And I've never heard this word before that. I've never heard that before. And I heard it in my mind over and over and over and over again. And then, as silly as that might sound, I just Googled it. And that's how I went into this rabbit hole of starseeds. And that was followed along for me personally with continuous visits from beings, continuous experiences with extraterrestrials. It was a very intense time. It also had a dark side to it. So, like I said, it's a lot that happened. And there's a lot to share, but not everything I feel comfortable sharing, because I also know, and it's not that I care what other people think, I don't do that, but I know how vulnerable you make yourself when you share about ET experiences and how people are being treated who have opened up publicly about this. It can be really re-traumatizing if you open up about something that you've actually experienced. And then a know it all comes and tells you, that's not real. You're just making that up in your mind. You're just having a trauma response to something else. And you're there, like having all this knowledge, having all this consciousness that you've accessed over the years, and you legit know what happened. And you're the smart person in this scenario, but everyone looks at you like you are completely nuts and what you're telling is not the truth or is just to gain attention. I know that this is how it goes, and I'm really careful with sharing about my ET experiences, especially when it comes to the negative ones. The main reason I'm really careful about opening up about negative alien experiences is because first of all, I don't want random people to tell me that it didn't happen and that it wasn't real and that they have the right to undermine the trauma it has caused me. Second of all, I don't want you and people in general to think that alien contact is negative or a threat or something to be scared of. The situations that were fearful to me were really specific. It wasn't the beings that visited me, it was something different. I blame myself partly in that because I went too far too fast. And I don't want to portray the picture that we should not connect with extraterrestrials, because we absolutely should. They are our higher advanced selves. They are just another timeline of humanity. And not all of them are positive, but the ones in contact with us are usually positive. So I don't want you to be afraid of having experiences or of opening up yourself to these type of experiences. May it be in meditation, may it be in dream time. I don't want people to be afraid of that because I share some of the negative things that happened to me. So there's that. That was my starseed story and how I got introduced to the Arcturians, who are my strongest connection till this day. And I hope that it was inspiring for you. I hope that you could see yourself in my story a little bit and that you can walk your starseed path more confidently and more powerfully now that you are feeling inspired to really research, look into this, meditate, ask for help, call on your guides, call on your ET guides, all these things. I really wish that for you. That being said, I'm wishing you a wonderful week. Make sure to check out the links in the show notes. You can find me on Instagram, on TikTok. You can also click the link to my programs if you want to learn more about that. And have a wonderful week. Talk to you next Sunday.